welcome back to Where in the World with Young Professionals, where we have real conversations with young professionals about life and career, all while attempting to guess where in the world they are. From time to time, we'll learn something new about our guests and what it's like to forge your own career path as a young professional. And when we say young, we're really just talking about a state of mind. You will learn by watching this web series that your career will take many dips and turns over time. And just when you think you've made it, you might have to scrap it and start all over from scratch. Sometimes that's just the way it goes, and we ride the tide. This is episode number 2. So if you guys are joining us for the first time, thank you for being here. If you've watched us before, thank you again for coming back. I am your host from Clary Johnson, and I'm here joined with Courtney Sims, who is the who is the internal communications manager for Prime Videos and Amazon Studios. So, if you have an Amazon Prime membership, which I know I do, you know they curate, create, and deliver incredibly entertaining video content into our homes and onto our mobile devices. What you may not know is that Amazon Prime Video has more than 25,000 movies and TV shows. The average American only watches nearly 300 movies and shows per year. So this is literally a lifetime of content, and I am guilty for splurging on some of their original content, including The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. If you've never watched it before, I definitely recommend that you check it out. So, we're going to find out momentarily what Amazon originals our guest loves to watch and what's on her watch list. But before we kick it off, we're going to do a little bit of housekeeping. So, this is a mini web series game show. The questions will range from standard interview like questions to more personal questions about our guests' careers. And you're going to notice that we're both here today with different backgrounds. That's because in between the questions, we're both going to have an opportunity to guess where in the world the other person is. The first person to guess correctly wins. In terms of prizes, we're still working on prizes, y'all. They are coming. For now, we're just going to have some fun with it. Our guests can ask for yes or no clues along the way. In fact, it doesn't have to be a yes or no clue. You can ask for any kind of clue. And then our audience can also ask for clues as well to help our guests out. So we're going to go ahead and kick it off by welcoming Courtney to the stage. Welcome to the show. Um,
Hi.
Hi, welcome. So you are currently at Amazon, and you worked with AAA for several years in internal comms prior to this. You also have some experience in public relations and account management, and you were at some point the vice president of of professional development for the San Francisco International Association of Business Communication. It's a mouthful, y'all, but that is where you and I met. So I want to welcome you. I'm really looking forward to this conversation because our careers have so many parallels. And so let's go ahead and kick it off with our most common interview question. Tell us a little bit more about yourself and your background.
Sure. I am Courtney Sims. I am a communication professional, passionate about innovative technology, organizational culture, advocating for employees, and I'm also really settling into a space in event management, and so a lot of exciting things that are currently taking place. But I feel very fulfilled and very lucky to be able to have some space in all of those areas.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing. Event management is so much fun. I remember organizing a few events for in my past life, and I really enjoyed the process of like organizing and coordinating. I consider myself a platformer. I love to build platforms and systems. And so event management was fun because there was just so many different pieces, so many different people that you get to work with to make it all happen,
Absolutely.
right? From
Yeah.
catering to the setup to the design to the staffing. So that sounds like a wonderful, wonderful path. I'm curious if you could just describe your career path for us a little bit. How did you find yourself in internal communications?
Sure. So I started out in public relations. I had my first internship in the Bay Area, and then from then I went on to a sister agency, um, and went back into traditional PR. And then when I headed into the startup world in SF, I kind of developed this curiosity for like, how do employees feel? How do they feel about the work they're doing? Do they have the tools and resources they need to get their work done and be effective? And so from there, it kind of just developed. And I was lucky enough to take on a position at AAA as an internal comms specialist. And from there, that passion just grew. And I found myself really enjoying the type of work that I was doing and the people that I was working with. Really making sure that I am seen as a resource, and I am positioned to help, new hires, help disseminate information, to build platforms and communication strategies that let people, that make people feel valued, heard, and make them feel informed about what's going on in the organization.
Wow, your job sounds very important. And what I really like about it is that it's not a typical career path that you would hear. I think you hear marketing and you hear advertising and you might even hear public relations, and communications, but internal comms is so very specific. And it's one of those career paths that I think once you if you find yourself in it, it's probably because you either love writing or communicating, organizing, disseminating information, or some combination of all of that. So I think as you know, I also worked in internal comms for quite a few years. So I definitely think it's one of those paths that you choose that don't necessarily always fall into your lap. But that I could be very biased as well. All right, cool. So here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna guess where each other's are, uh,
Okay.
and I'm really looking forward to guessing where you are because
Hmm.
it looks like okay. So this is gonna be my guess.
Okay.
Is it a museum?
Yes.
It is a museum.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So that kind of narrows it down a little bit. I don't think that it's the I don't think it's the Chicago Field Museum. I don't think he would be that nice to me or that easy. So I'm not gonna guess that one, but it looks like it's somewhere in Europe. So I've already guessed. I'm kind of cheating, but okay.
Okay. I mean, that's a really good guess.
Okay. All right, so it's your turn. I'll move around a little bit.
Oh, this is a hard one. You could be anywhere. You could be in Napa. You could be in Temecula. How specific do you want me to be? I can say you could be on a farm too.
I could be on a farm.
Yeah.
It's very farmish.
Hmm.
Now, I did prior to us going live, I did walk away from the screen for a little bit. So you had some
You
time
did.
to study it. Um, all
Oh,
right. So what's your guess?
oh, I I don't have a guess. Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Are you in California?
I am not in California.
Hmm.
All right. So we've narrowed it down to
Okay.
not in California,
Mm-hmm.
possibly a farm.
Mm-hmm. Oh, do I get one more guess? Do I get one more guess?
Okay. I'll give you one more guess. And the reason why is because after the first question, we did not guess where each other's were. So
Okay.
I'll give you one more guess.
Are you? I feel like you are on a set of a movie, which would be
Oh,
really cool because. Uh, are you on a set of a movie?
I am on the set of a movie. I am on the set of a movie. That is very correct. Okay, so you don't get any more guesses.
Okay,
Okay.
okay.
You're too good at this. All right. So let's move on to our next question. What makes you passionate about the work that you do? What makes you passionate about internal communications?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think what makes me so passionate about the work that I do is I think because it aligns with my purpose, which I have found over the years is really in how am I being of service to others. And so being in internal comms, my role is to really help, whether it's communicate a strategy or, build out an internet platform. It's really with this idea of like helping someone else. And so it's easy for me to, be in an internal comms position and just find passion and purpose in just being there for others, helping people understand, giving people tools, providing them with information. I feel like it comes very easy and natural to me because that is where I see myself. Um, but I didn't know that until much later in my career. I think for a while I was just very much so trying to figure it out. And when I started volunteering, and building my network, I had more of those aha moments.
Yeah, so I would say if I were to give you a word to sum it up, it sounds like you're very much a connector, right? Where and that makes a lot of sense because you and I met. You were the vice president of professional development, right? So it sounds like you're the kind of person you like to be, um, kind of work behind the scenes to make those connections, to connect people with resources, to, as you said, help them to be as informed as possible so that they can make better decisions. Um, so that makes a lot of sense. All right, let's go ahead and we're going to guess again. But you're already, you know, at least 25% of the way there.
I think I know where you are, and I don't want to. I'm like this close to texting you behind the scenes. No, um, I want to say. Okay, here's my guess. Is it the set of an Amazon original?
No, it's not.
Okay, okay. Huh.
The movie, it's possible this movie is on Amazon, but not as an original.
Okay.
No. I will say now, I don't think there is an Amazon original version of this movie.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So you are in a museum.
I am. I'm in a museum.
So my question is, are you in the United States?
I am.
You are in the United States. You're at a
Hmm.
museum in the United States.
Hmm.
Is it the Field Museum?
Nope.
Oh, it's not. Okay. Okay. At first I thought maybe you made it that easy, but you didn't.
No, I should have.
No. Okay, so you're in a museum in the United States, but you are not at the Field Museum. So that gives me three regions to choose from. So my
Hmm.
next question is going to be regionally, where are we? So okay. Um I don't know of many museums. I'm not familiar with many museums outside of the ones here in Chicago. So I'll probably have to call my Google Lifeline at some point to pin it
Okay.
down to the right place.
Nice.
All right, cool. So our next question for our guest is, what do you enjoy most about the work that you do currently? And then if you could just give us, wrapped up in your answer, tell us a little bit about what you do in internal comms, because I'm not sure that most people know what that kind of role entails.
Sure. Absolutely. Um, well, I first, I think what I enjoy the most about my role, it's really like the ownership that I have over the type of work that I'm doing, right? Building something, um, and seeing it, to launch, I think is probably one of the most rewarding aspects of my role, whether it's, an event, whether, it's a comm strategy or a new program. I think this idea that, I'm building something that's going to help people, whether it's going to help them do their jobs better, whether it's going to help them, get tools and resources. I think that gives me just a great sense of pride, and that's probably one of the most things that excite me.
Mhm.
Um, and I think on, whether it's a day to day or month to month, I think the majority of my role is heavy in the writing. Um, you know, I I work with a lot of different business partners across the organization, whether it's helping them build a strategy, building out decks or content, or connecting them to conferences, building out trainings, things like that. I think there are a lot of things that I do. Um, and it's like every day is exciting. It's not, not one day is the same. And so I think that makes me, I keep looking forward to those moments of like, I get to do something new today, or, I've been building something for 5 months and now I'm going to be able to launch it. And so I think it's just a combination of a lot of different things. But it's all really exciting work. I send an email. I'm talking to my peers. It's really just, I mean, it's probably one of the most exciting roles that I've had so far. Um, yeah, and I feel just really lucky that I'm able to be in this like unique position to provide a service to other folks, regardless, to like what that looks like, whether it's writing or, understanding, a concept. Again, it's just all really exciting stuff.
Yeah. So I see that. I think one thing that makes internal comms so special, or a role like that, is the variety. So it sounds like what you're talking about is you get to build it, you get to see it launch, you get to see the impact, and you get to try something new, right?
Right.
Um, and that's really when I talk to young professionals about the kinds of roles that we're taking and getting into at the beginning. I think it's so important for us to get into roles that really allow us to flex a lot of different skills, because then it opens the pathway, it opens the door to being able to pivot in different directions, and get you kind of closer to what we call your ikigai, or your happy spot.
Right.
I think that's why journalism was such a great starting point for me personally, because I was learning about all of these different people, all of these different lifestyles, all of these different ways of working, ways of thinking. And I was actively telling those stories from this perspective of of curiosity. And from there, I got to understand some how different industries work. And that when I first started in public relations, I got my start at a newsroom, at a local newsroom here in Chicago at WGN. And as I was there, I was doing PR and I was sorting through all these press releases. That's where I realized, like, whoa, PR is it's a very creative field to be
Absolutely.
in. In addition, it's kind of taking the stories and then packaging it up in this really beautiful, bite size and fun and um, way that's really accessible, and connecting it with an audience, right? And so I think, had I gone into any other field, that it I may not have discovered this path. I likely wouldn't have discovered this path to internal communications. But I
Right.
typically recommend, if you're going into any kind of field, whether it's HR, whether it's law, um, you know, stretch in different areas, right? You can do all types of different kinds of law. So try, maybe one type of law doesn't feel like a fit for you, but you might try family law, and that might feel like a better fit than criminal
Absolutely.
justice law, um or patent law, or laws about copywriting, or there's so many different areas to go in. And so, or malpractice, right? There's so many different areas to go in that I think giving ourselves the permission early on to explore those different routes is so important. So
Yeah.
it sounds like your role really allows you to, you were talking about event planning, whether it's writing, whether it's creating a strategy, but really that part about, hey, I get to really sit with a group of people and I get to have my partners and the people that I serve within my role, and really see my work making a real impact. So um, I that's what I loved about what you said is it just sounds like every day feels a little bit different. Would you agree with that or
Yeah, no, I think you're 100% correct. I think that's what I love so much about it. Is it's like not one day is the same. Every day it's something different. I get
Mhm.
to work with different people. I get to flex different muscles, and so I don't think I've experienced anything like it. And so I definitely, to your point, I think I found my happy place.
That's amazing. Okay, great. So let's go ahead and we're down. What is this, round three or four?
Okay,
All right. So you first.
I you're not in California. Are you in the U.S.?
I'm not in the United States. No.
Hmm.
So I'm on the set of a film that it was not filmed in the United States.
Are you in an Italian countryside?
I believe I'm on a countryside, but it is not Italian.
Where could you be? Ah, I'm so stumped. I don't know.
You're not sure? Okay, I will give you a guess. Um, Let me see. I feel like if I give you this guess, it's gonna give it away.
Yay! What? Go ahead and give it to me.
Okay. There is something that hides in the hills of
Hides in the hills?
this movie. The set of this movie.
Oh,
Something is hiding in the hills of our background.
oh, huh.
Okay, so it's my turn. Are you
Okay,
on the East Coast?
I am.
Are you in New York?
I am.
Okay. I'm so close. So now you're in a museum in New York.
Mhm.
It's a very large museum, so I imagine it must be a prominent museum because most places in New York are tiny, including the where your apartments. So, um, I'm gonna allow that to be my guess
Okay,
because have a feeling. I have a feeling that I know which one it is.
okay.
Okay, cool. All right, so we're gonna move on to our next question. What as you were going through your career growth, and because you've had a lot of different opportunities, a lot of different roles, you've worn several hats. What would you say was the greatest challenge that you face as a young professional with career growth? And the reason why I ask that is because you work at Amazon. For most people who might be watching who are young professionals, their dream is to work for a FANG company, right? So the Facebooks, the Netflixes, um, the Amazons, right? So looking back on your path to where you are as an internal comms manager, um, tell us what were some of your greatest challenges on that road?
Sure. Um, I think one of the greatest challenges that I had was really like learning how to advocate for myself. It's I found it to be very difficult to talk about the work that I was doing or that I intended to launch or the things that I have already accomplished. It was just very it was foreign to me. It's not something that I was used to. I have never done it before, and so um, I struggled with telling someone like, oh, I've done these 3 or 4 great things. And there was a conflict of like I want to be humble and I want to be a hard worker, and I didn't know how to convey that I work hard, I have a lot of great ideas, and this is what that could potentially look like, or this is what that looks like. And so I think I struggled with that, and it wasn't until I got a mentor
Hmm.
that my mentors helped me kind of um, they really guided me to like understand the type of work I was doing, why I was doing that work, best practices. I got so many great books, so many great, conversations about, their experience, and how sometimes our experiences mirrored each other, and what they did. And that kind of really helped me grow and my role in my career over time. One of my greatest mentors, she is at Facebook now, but she was someone that I looked up to, and um, she really helped me understand more about myself professionally, and really taught me how to advocate for myself. And I think that was a great turning point in my career. Um, and so finding a mentor, I think, really helped kind of helped me face whatever challenges that I had. A lot of it is just like understanding that people have the same experiences. Um, you know, I think there's especially when you're coming out of college and the world seems so big, and you're trying to find yourself and you're trying to make your mark. And I feel like you know when we have these big ideas, we really do need people like on our side to help us figure it out, help us figure out next steps. Um, and so I think those were some of the most pivotal moments in my career where you know I was working with someone, or I had a mentor who could help
Mhm.
more or less guide me, to make decisions, and trust my gut and be more confident. And so
This conversation about mentorship is so important because just like you, I struggled a lot with learning how to communicate in a corporate environment. Primarily, a big part of the reason was in my first job, I there was such a big age difference and age gap
mhm.
between myself and my leadership, and my team, that I found it sometimes difficult to relate, to my peers and to have the kind of conversations that they were having about their lives and their families and their children's when I didn't have
Yeah.
any children. I was single and I was kind of, doing it on my own. Or even in my second job, right? Just learning how to, I think it's hard because in your life, you've just graduated from college, you have now this degree, um or maybe you didn't go to college but you've transitioned into this new space where you have all, it seems like you have an infinite possibilities, infinite amount of options of choices to make about what direction you want to go, and you're still just figuring yourself out.
Yeah.
And so then add that on to your first work environment where um, you're supposed to be here for 40 hours a week. That's a very significant amount of your time and your space and your energy to be at work. And so you're really integrating into this new environment that's so utterly important to your life at large. And you're getting to know a new group of people that really form and function a lot like your family because of how much time you spend together.
Yeah.
And they're people who are coming from all over the place. And so, you may or may not have a previous connection with them. Likely you don't. And you're learning how to be yourself in this new environment when you're still figuring out who you are.
Yeah.
And I felt like that's where I was in a lot of my work relationships. And it took me a long time to learn how to communicate with the people around me. But also in doing that, there's this extra level of what you were talking about, which is, well, you own your own career. And so, in addition to understanding how to communicate in this environment, learning how to advocate for yourself and how to say, this is what I want when I'm still figuring out what I want and who I am and how I fit in and, what kind of value I can bring to the table. There's still now this extra layer of, well, you're also this self-managing, um you're managing yourself, and you're responsible for kind of figuring out what next steps there are to take in your career. So having a mentor is
Yeah.
so profoundly important, and I really believe that mentorship is a blessing and a gift, especially if
Mm.
you find someone that really gets you and who can really guide you and is really patient and genuinely cares about your path, and wants to root you on and wants to see you succeed,
Yeah.
because I think it is so very rare to find that, especially when you're at that young age when you don't really even know where to look for a mentor. So my follow-up question for you in all of this is, how did you find your mentor? What steps did you take to find someone that really that you felt like, oh, I can trust what this person is saying,
Yeah.
right? Whether it's because they've done it before, or because they just seem very knowledgeable, so I can trust this person with my story. But then also someone that actually you felt you were able to learn from and able to kind of grow with. So how did you find that person in your life?
Yeah. So I've worked at organizations that have formal mentorship programs, and you can learn from different leaders across the organization. With this particular mentor, it really began informally. It was, very much so. Hi in the office. What are you working on? And it just kind of developed into this space of I really looked up to this person and the
Mhm.
work that they were doing and the way that they treated people in the office and their values. And from there, we both established like this is a relationship that we want to foster in this professional way. And then the books started coming, and then the one on ones, and I've had the same mentor. I want to say almost 4 years,
Mhm.
and she's just absolutely incredible. But I think she's really one of those people that I lean on when I you know I have thoughts or I'm trying to brainstorm, and I just need some guidance. She's always there for me. She was a huge part of um, me moving into this next phase of my life in terms of taking a new role. And so it's again, I love that it was so informal in the beginning, and it just kind of turned into this, and I like wouldn't change that relationship for the world. It's just meant a lot to me, professionally, personally. Um, but for other programs, right, from IABC, they had a mentorship program as well, and I met some incredible people there as well. And so that's always like my first action is there a mentor program in place? How will it benefit me? Who are the folks that I can learn from? Is kind of helps that kind of helps me, especially when I come into a new role or a new organization. But I'm definitely a big fan of hanging on to the existing ones. I'd like to look back in 10 years and say, I've had the same mentor for this long.
Mhm.
And now we're really great friends. And so I'm definitely looking forward to that.
Yes, yes. I love that story, particularly because with mentorship, there are quite a few different ways, right? So one is, if you're looking for a mentor, um, definitely look within your circle. So think about who you are working with, right? I always say the best kind of networking actually happens on the job, right? It happens with the people that you work with every single day.
Yeah.
And so, as you were saying, it's a great place also to find a mentor because you get to see firsthand how who they are, how they treat people, how
Right.
they express their values, and you can find that alignment, right, and have that connection. It feels more authentic
Hmm.
because they're there in that space with you. They can better understand what you're going through and they can relate. So that's a really great place to start. And then the other thing you mentioned was finding programs, right? So
Yeah.
programs, most colleges and universities have mentorship programs. Most jobs, I know both of the jobs I was at, they had some kind of mentorship or shadowing program where you were paired up with someone who had many more years of experience than you, and you could ask them your questions, and you
Yeah.
could get to know what their lives were like and what their work was like, and really just have someone who can connect you within the organization as well. So I'd say, if looking for mentors, we definitely want to be looking at folks who have a track record and someone who has some influence too,
Yep.
because it's great if you can connect with someone who really can open doors for you or connect you to the right resources. So if you ever out here, you heard it from us guys, definitely when it comes to mentorship, um, y- it's really about just looking, starting with where you are and seeing what resources and tools are available to you, and then taking advantage of that. So, all right, great. So we are at, I think you're going to guess where I'm at this round. And I have a feeling that I'm going to guess where you at. Now, Courtney,
Okay.
you said you were going to be on a beach.
I did say that.
This is a,
This isn't a beach.
this is not a beach.
So when I talked to you, I thought I had given it away. So I was like, I have to change it. And so, and I'm going to just give you a clue. I have not visited this museum. I will later this year.
Oh,
Um, I don't know if that's helpful at all.
okay. So we're taking a trip to New York this year later.
Hmm. Yes.
Well, that's exciting. Um, so I want to learn a little bit more about this trip, but
Okay.
have you ever been to New York?
Yes.
Okay, but you've
Mhm.
never been to this museum.
No,
Um, all right. So I'm going to guess that it's the Natural History Museum in New York.
that is correct.
Uh, so the dinosaur in the background kind of gives it away because Field Museum here in Chicago is also our natural history museum, and
Hmm.
we have a zoo. So I knew it has to be a museum like that,
Yeah.
some natural kind of museum. But this is really beautiful,
Yeah.
and
Looks incredible.
it's a space. It's I want to go here now.
I mean, well, meet me there in March. Oh,
So what's the trip to New York? Is it work related, personal?
it's just a personal trip. I have a sister. One of my sisters lives in New York, and so I want to go visit her, spend some time with her, and be a tourist.
One of the
Yeah.
things that I really like about you is that you are very independent in terms of I feel like if you wanna travel and you wanna go somewhere, you pick up and you go, because I remember when you came here to Chicago.
I remember.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and did you come by yourself on that one, or did you come with,
I came with friends,
you did?
but it was very like impromptu trip. Like, oh, let's just. I hadn't been to Chicago,
Yeah.
and I probably should have picked a better time to go, maybe in the summer.
Mhm.
But I had a wonderful time. I was so glad that like I finally got to meet you.
Yeah.
We went to the museums there. It
Mhm.
was wonderful.
Yeah, I mean, and what's your theory on traveling? Because I know there are a lot of people out there who say they wanna travel, but they feel like they have to, you know be doing something really specific, like they have to have their corporate job to be able to travel, or they have to be making a certain amount of money.
Mm.
I feel, when I hear people talk about what they want, a lot of times it's, oh, I just want to travel, and my response is usually, well, why don't you just travel?
Yeah,
And it's
yeah.
usually because people think that traveling is so expensive, but I'm going to Puerto Rico in a couple weeks, and
I know. I'm so excited for
I
you.
my ticket was $300, you know?
That's awesome.
So not bad at all. So what's your theory on traveling?
Um, I want to go everywhere. I
Yeah.
want to have a million stamps in my passport. The truth is, I've learned to be more planful and intentional about where I want to go.
Hmm.
And so instead of just saying, I want to go to Chicago, I haven't been there before. Um, I look for key things to do in those areas, like memorable things.
Mhm.
When I went to visit, I made sure to ride my bike
Mhm.
along the lake. I love baseball, so I purposely, wanted to take a picture in front of the Cubs stadium. I find things that I know that I like, memories I can take with me. So the trip feels like it has purpose.
Mhm.
Every year I like to go visit a new museum. Every year I like to go lay by a beach. And so those are the two things that I look forward to the most. I just figure out like how to do that in different areas every year. And so I think if, people want to travel, um, and they're worried about cost or time, you have to be planful, you have to be intentional.
Mhm.
um, yeah, and I think for me that it's always worked that way.
Yeah, for me, I am not planful at all, but I like to travel with people who like to plan.
Yeah, it's
Because
fun.
but I'm like, "I'm just gonna bring my bag, and then you can
Yeah,
tell me what you wanna do.
yeah, tell me where you want me to
Just
go.
tell me
Yeah,
where you wanna go, what to
exactly.
eat." Okay. Alright, so y would you like to guess where I
Oh,
am?
yes, I think that you are in Narnia. Is that correct?
Very close. It
Okay.
is a fictional area, it's a fictional place.
Oh,
Um, it is, otherworldly,
hmm.
if that helps. It is, yeah, it's fictional, it's fantasy. So,
Oh,
yes, you're close.
I don't know if
The answer hides in the hills.
I know I can't. I should have worn my glasses. I'm in my heels.
There. Oh, wait.
Oh, Clary, I give up. Where are you? Tell me.
Wait, okay, hold on. How many more questions do we have? Alright, we have a couple more questions.
Okay.
So I'll give you a try to guess what country I'm in.
Um, oh,
There are only a few. Well, actually, there are a lot, but
mhm.
or try to guess what continent I'm on.
You're in Europe.
No, I'm not in Europe.
Oh, oh. Are you
It
in South
feels it
America?
does feel very it does feel very European though. It's not
Mhm.
South America, no. All right, so we're gonna sit with that a little bit. We're gonna
Okay.
ask you the next question.
Okay.
All right, when you think back on your interviews for both AAA and Amazon, what qualities, what skills, what experiences do you have in your tool belt that you think made you attractive for these roles? What would you say are your greatest strengths?
Oh, that's a good one. Um, I think the interview process for any organization, it's a little nerve wracking. I do a lot of prep, but I also try to find stories that are not just relatable, but that really highlight and encompass all of my skills, if you will, right? So examples that are really data driven,
Hmm.
um, but also examples that show, like I am a human. I care about the people that I work with. I care about the type of work that I do.
Hmm.
Also showing, how I'm able to deal with like conflict or failure or when you don't reach your goal. I think trying to go into an interview and be polished and perfect, it's just not realistic. And so I really try to find examples that speak to who I am truly as an individual. My ability to like work under pressure. And I think AAA at the time. That my interview process was amazing. Everyone that I interviewed with, I ended up working with in some capacity.
Hmm.
Same for Amazon. But I think really drawing upon like the things that I've learned in previous positions, things that have helped me grow as an individual. And I also want to, make sure that I am, again, telling stories that resonate with the folks that are listening to them. But I think overall, just the entire interview process just makes me a wreck, honestly.
I get that, and I think what stuck out for me and what you just said was everyone that you interviewed with, you worked with in some capacity, and I
Yeah,
think it's important for us to remember that the person that we're interviewing with, it's not always just going to be a recruiter. They're
yeah,
evaluating us on whether or not
yeah,
this is someone that I want to work with and I want to see every day. So, making sure that we are connecting with the other person on the other end in that way, and showing our personality as
yeah,
well.
yeah,
Of course, it's important to be professional, it's important to be prepared and to know your stories, but also to be yourself, because
absolutely.
that's how you know if you're a good fit for the organization and if they're a good fit for you, right?
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
I remember some of my first interviews. I was concerned because I was natural, so I had like a little bit of a curly fro.
Hmm.
And I know a lot of black women struggle with this sometimes, with this idea of, well, I need to straighten my hair before I go into interview. And I remember telling myself earlier on that if I couldn't wear my natural hair into an interview and get the job, then wasn't a place that I wanted to work at,
Yeah. Yeah.
because I know every day that I go to work, I'm going to show up with my natty curly hair. I'm not
Yeah.
going to be straightening my hair every day before work,
Yeah.
just so that I can fit in with some culture. Um, so I think showing up, being yourself, sitting in your own authenticity, showing your personality, and allowing yourself to um, really kind of I would say show up with your full self,
Yeah.
your full best self is a really great way to know off the bat. And you'll get the feelings, right? You'll get the feelings of whether it feels
Absolutely.
like they're vibing with you and you're vibing with them. But it really is, the interview is a two-way street. And that's what I
Yep.
want people to remember, kind of going in.
Yeah, and there's so many, techniques you can Google,
Yeah.
mock, questions and answers, and I think there are a lot of resources that help people with interviews. But I think what my favorite part is actually, meeting new people, talking with them, talking about their experience, what they like most about the organization. But yeah, I haven't had to do it in so long, and so I think just remembering the nerves that I had and the feelings that I had during the interview. They still like stick with me even now. Like I know this is
Yes.
super casual. I've known you for so long, um, but I'm like playing with my rings under the table out of
Yeah.
nervousness. I don't think that's something that's ever going to go away from me. But yeah, I mean, in addition to like working with people to practice, I like Googled a lot of information. So I definitely encourage other people to do that as
Oh,
well.
same. I was on YouTube.
Yeah.
Yeah, I binged watch interviewing videos before my interviews. Yeah. Okay, great. So we're almost here towards the end. Couple
Mhm.
questions to go.
Okay.
Reflecting on where you were 5 years ago, what's one piece of advice you would give to yourself?
Don't be in such a rush. I think I am very, I want to have this great professional career, and I wanted to, 5 years ago, I wanted it then. And I think I had to take the time to have new experiences, to develop my skills, to breathe a lot. Um, and I think just being a little impatient, it always made me feel like, am I doing a good job? And so if I could tell, 5 years ago, I would just sit still and say, hey, just be patient. It's all going to work out. It's all going to come together. Don't worry. Um, yeah, I think, a lot of people feel that way. We want these amazing careers and we want, to make money and buy homes. And I think all of that does come in time. I think following my purpose is really like what is going to lead me and keep me, in times of, uncertainty or, um, you know, uh, career paths. I think just following what really fuels my soul is always going to be the right decision.
Yeah, I feel that. Um, and just be and because I think when I look back on my own career, one of my mantras is be still.
Yeah,
And when I don't know what to do, or if I'm faced with two choices or decisions that seem very difficult, just being still and allowing yourself time to be guided in the right direction.
absolutely.
There were times in my career where I felt really stuck, and I had to
Mhm.
remind myself that be still. I know you want to get out of the situation, but there's
Yeah,
something still that you that's here for you to learn, that's going to help you
yep,
as you continue to progress and grow. And so what you said about, talking to yourself and saying, "Hey, it's going to be okay. We're going to
yeah,
figure it out," is so profound. But these retrospective questions are hard because it's a lot easier to say that
yeah,
looking back. But once you're in it, you just have all these emotions. You want to
yeah,
be successful. Um, you want to like have a life for yourself, right? And
absolutely.
you want to show that all the student loans, all the debt is worth it. And you're like, okay, well, I have these degrees and now I have this expectation from the world that I
Yeah,
go out and I do something really significant with it. And I think it's a lot of pressure to have on your
yeah,
shoulder, at that point and at that stage, when it really does feel like so much of your life is hinging on your career and how
absolutely.
successful you can be. So that kind of brings me to my next question. But before I do, I want to give you another opportunity
To guess
to
wrong.
guess. I have so much faith in you. Okay.
Oh, I love it so much. Thank
You
you.
you were so hot at the beginning. Like, you off the bat, you came out saying that I was, in a movie, in
Okay.
a farm-like
It's a
place.
movie in a foreign place, but you're not in Europe. You're not in South America. You're not in California.
Can we
I
get
can't
guess what
see.
continent?
Is that a deer? I can't see.
So those are houses in the hill.
Okay.
They're houses. Those are doors. You see the doors, guys? Those are
Those are
houses.
tiny. Those are tiny houses.
Tiny houses.
Oh my
Who
gosh.
would live in a tiny house?
A Smurf?
You're not wrong.
A
You're not
hobbit?
wrong.
A hobbit?
Yes, a hobbit.
Clary. Good. That was really good.
So wait, so where am I?
Oh man. Um, somewhere where hobbits live. I don't. Are, can I guess the movie?
You can Google it.
Okay, where do hobbits live?
Where do hobbits live? So as you're Googling that, I'm gonna ask you our final question of the interview. Can you believe
Okay.
we're already at the end? All right. How would you describe success? What is success to you?
Success. Oh, this is a good one. I think what I've come to learn about success is I can redefine that every year. Like, what does that ultimately mean for me in my life? I think 5 years ago, it meant, um, very materialistic, I think. And now I think success for me feels soft. It feels like peace. It feels like, something that I can lay my head down on.
Hmm.
it doesn't feel chaotic or overly ambitious. It feels like it feels like a very natural space for me in terms of just like how I live my everyday life. Like I have great relationships with the people that I work with. I have great relationships with my friends and family. I have great work life balance. I feel, like I'm in a really good space in terms of like just my health, especially in the past couple of years. It's been a very wild ride, and I think being here, being able to do the work that I'm doing, being able to work with the type of people that I can work with, that feels like success to me.
Hmm.
It doesn't have a price tag on it. It doesn't, it feels really good. Um, Not conflicting or anything. I guess how I used to define success and like what that meant. And seeing people on TV who are really successful, but they have these really chaotic lives, right? All for the entertainment of it. It just feels really good.
Hmm. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is where we end. Yeah, I mean, I like asking this question because I think success is very different for everyone. But
Yeah.
it's funny how I think once you've had a career and you've kind of been through it, your idea of what success is will really change.
Yeah.
And I've gotten to this place now where I'm like, I just I just want to have balance in my life. And I want to be able to walk into a store without having to check a price tag. And it's not so much about being wealthy as it is about being able to afford the things that I want and being
Yeah.
able to create a full and rich life for me, for my children, for my family, for the people that I love, and for to create a better world for everyone else. So,
Yeah.
um, all right. So you guessed The Hobbit. So I am in New Zealand.
Are
Um,
you in Middle Earth? Is that a actual place?
it's called Hobbiton,
Oh,
Waikato. Waikato. That's it's
nice.
a real place in New Zealand called Hobbiton.
We'll have
Um,
to go there together.
yes, we will have to go here. This is where they filmed Lord of the Rings. I'm a huge Lord of the Rings fan.
Are
And
you?
yes, I am a Lord of the Ring nerd.
I
Um,
love that.
I don't know if I could do the three-part trilogy, like where you just watch all three movies back to back on
Oh,
a
yeah.
marathon. I used to do that. You remember FX? They used to play the movies back to back. I don't know if I could do that
Yeah.
now without
Now.
falling asleep, but when I was
I
a kid, I was
know,
definitely
right?
a
Yeah. Sleep is definitely a top of my priority list for sure.
sleeper. This year, 2023, here we come.
Yay.
Okay, so what's on your list of Amazon Prime originals?
Oh, I just binge watched Jack Ryan. And
Okay.
I mean, I've done that every time the season has come out. I enjoy that so much. It's got a mix of everything.
All right.
I love all of the characters. I'm actually a really like I am such a binge watcher now. Like I wasn't really like that before. But if there's a Saturday and I don't have much to do, I'll probably watch three or four different shows or a couple of movies on Prime. Um, I mean, I really enjoy, entertainment and content and the different genres of films and series. Um, so I feel like I'm right where I'm supposed to be, honestly.
And that is the perfect way to end our talk today. I'm definitely going to have to check out Jack Ryan.
Yes. Oh,
And
great.
thank you so much for joining us today. This is a wonderful, lovely conversation. Congratulations. You guessed where I'm at. I guess where you were. So I guess that makes us both winners.
Yay.
Um, and I look forward to you and I connecting offline.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Clary. Happy New
All
Year.
right. Thank you. Take care. Happy New Year. See you
Bye.
guys.